Start a poll, baby. Trump Vance. Trump Vance 2024. Bless me. Trump and Vance. Let's go. Y'all know what time it is. Trump train, baby. Top of the hour.
We'll do it again.
Top of the hour.
We will complete the mission President Trump first articulated in 2016 to make America great again. Thank you and God bless you.
Playing all that motherfucking music, man.
Americans to just survive.
Fuck.
Life was completely different under President Trump. We prospered. To my beloved Latino community,
Cashback and holiday gifts.
Damn, man.
Charming small town without all the
Making it
snow.
hard for me,
iBody is a great tool.
Wow, this is great.
Let's go.
This is fantastic. A very, very special hello to Pittsburgh. And Pennsylvania. I went to school in Pennsylvania. I know everything about Pennsylvania. I love Pennsylvania. I'm thrilled to be back in this incredible, is it incredible? This incredible Commonwealth with thousands of proud, hardworking American patriots and hard hats. People have no idea how smart they are. These are great people, let me tell you, I love them. I'd like to begin by asking a very, very simple and easy to understand question. Are you better off now than you were 4 years ago? Does anybody disagree? It's dangerous, don't do it. But over the past 4 years, Americans have suffered one catastrophic failure, betrayal, and humiliation after another. Kamala Harris has delivered soaring prices and economic anguish at home, war and chaos abroad, and nation-destroying invasion on our southern border like nobody's ever seen before. She's actually a disaster. My message to Americans tonight is simple. We do not have to live this way. We don't. We don't, and we won't. We won't. We do not have to settle for weakness, incompetence, decline, and decay. With your vote tomorrow, we can fix every single problem our country faces and lead America, and indeed the whole world, to new heights of glory. It will help the world. A lot of people think we're isolationists. We're not. But we want the world to appreciate what we're doing. They have to appreciate that we're helping them. When we win election, only one day, oh, does that sound nice? One day from now. Oh. We've been waiting for 4 years for this. 4 years. Right? Look at all these senators. Look at all these senators and congressmen. We've been waiting 4 years. Oh, now it's what I've been saying. Only 1 year from now. Only 6 months from now. 6 months. 6 months. Even when I said only 10 days, it still sounded tomorrow. I will end inflation. I will stop the invasion of criminals coming across our border, and we will stop it rapidly. I will strengthen our military. And as you know, we totally rebuilt our military, but now it needs a little strengthening after giving a big chunk of it to Afghanistan. Figure that out. Figure that one out. I will restore peace in the world, and I will rescue the American dream. Together we will begin the 4 greatest years in the history of our country, and we will launch the most extraordinary economic boom the world has ever seen, and we'll do it by utilizing the assets that we have. If you vote for Kamala, you will have 4 more years of misery, failure, and disaster. Our country may never recover. Vote for me and I will deliver rising wages, soaring income, and a colossal surge of jobs, wealth, and opportunity for Americans of every race, religion, color, and creed, every one of them. A vote for Trump means your groceries will be cheaper. So many people mention, I go in, so many people mention groceries, and beautiful but simple word, groceries. Sir, my groceries. You don't think of it that way, but that's what they mention more than anything, my groceries. Your paychecks will be higher, your streets will be safer and cleaner, your communities will be richer, and your future will be brighter than ever before. This will be the golden age of America. Just a few months ago, in a beautiful field in Pennsylvania, not far from where we are tonight, an assassin tried to stop our movement. And this is the greatest political movement by far in the history of our country. Tried to stop it. But that rush with death did not stop us. It only made us more determined to finish the job that we had only just started. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. This is a frisky group. Many people say that God saved me in order to save America. Many people are saying that. And with your help, we will fulfill that extraordinary mission together. We're going to save our country. But many people have said that. To every citizen across this land, I am asking for the honor of your vote. I don't want your money. I don't want anything. I just want your vote. We are on the 5-yard line. I would actually say we're on the 1-yard line if you want to really know. And some of the, oh, that's a lot of fake news back there. Look at that. You know, for a person that they hate, they sure do show up, right? Man. That's a big group of people. Some are actually good and some are just absolutely terrible. All right, thank you for being here.
You're not a child, you're a man. So stop wearing so many layers to go outside. And get the Bearskin Tactical Hoodie 4.0, the 10-pocket tactical
It shows that ratings are more important than hatred. I've always said that. As your president, I will fight for you every single day with every breath in my body. I will fight. Together we will save this country. We will defeat the corrupt system in Washington, and America's future will be an absolutely incredible one. That's what it is. But we got to start immediately. It can't wait any longer. It's not going to be possible. This is all you really need to know. It's simple, not particularly beautiful as a statement, but very simple. It's Kamala broke it. I will fix it. I don't know if you know, but Kamala has a little rally going on. And when I say little, I mean little. It's a competing rally. It's not this giant place that's sold out. What a beautiful, this is a beautiful place. But, and it's quite embarrassing. It's all over the internet. She's screaming, and the people, it's about 100 people. They're not moving. They just want to go home, just be done with it. It's not quite this. You see the front row? You have a lot of front row Joes. We have more front row Joes here than she's got at her big rally. This was the big one. No, it's a whole stars to come in. They wouldn't do it, actually. She'd go and get Beyonce. No. Beyonce would come in. Everyone's expecting a couple of songs. And there were no songs. There was no happiness. It's just like, give me my check. I want to get out of here. But you always put the star. She should have learned this from Crooked Hillary. Always put the star after you. That way the people stay. Finish the speech. And even if she doesn't sing, they booed like hell. But the press, they booed both of them the hell out of the stadium. But you know what? Even though the act was terrible, it's like by that time you're out of the building. Like Elvis had left the building. Elvis has left the building. No, it's terrible. They obviously forgot to get a star tonight, but we don't need a star. We don't need stars. I never had a star. No. We don't need a star. Just to bring it back into seriousness, we don't need a star because we have policy. We have great policy. We have great policy. No, we do have great policy. Look, they have horrible policy. They've got a machine that's incredible. They've got a vicious, horrible group of people, a machine where they can have open borders and let people pour into the country. They can have transgender operations at any age, anytime you want. They can be pushing men playing in women's sports, and because she's just a vessel, and Joe Biden was just a vessel. It's a group of very powerful people that are probably people that hate our country and they want to destroy our country. Somebody said, are they dumb? Well, who would have these? It's embarrassing when I say, we will keep men out of women's sports. I'm saying, can you imagine saying that 10 years ago? They'd say, this guy's cracked up. This guy's crazy. Who the hell's going to have men playing? Did you see the Olympic boxing with two people who transitioned? They transitioned from men to women in just a light jab. That was the end of that one. You know, a jab, for those that don't know, but that's just like sort of like a defensive punch. Being and the young lady who's a champion, walked back to the court. She was from Italy, beautiful young lady, which I'm not allowed to say. You can't say beautiful, so I'll take beautiful. But she was a beautiful young. In politics, you're not allowed to call a woman beautiful anymore. It's the end of your career. So please delete the word beautiful. Thank you very much. Well, 60 Minutes deleted the whole damn answer. What? So I'm allowed to do that, aren't I, Susan Wiles? But America will be bigger, better, bolder, richer, safer, and stronger than ever before.
Man, it's Trump train, man. It's election night. Double tap that stream for the win and stop faking.
That you've had enough, you can't take it anymore. She's the least talented person we've ever seen in government. She allowed our borders to be open. She's allowed bad things to happen.
I'm coming on camera, man. Y'all need to get them likes up, though. Let's go.
To remain in the most important position of any country in the world when they're talking nuclear weapons and they're talking wars. And she still says, oh no, I didn't notice anything wrong. If she didn't notice anything wrong, then she's got a bigger problem than he has.
Jose Ibarra entered the country illegally. He was arrested, released, then beat to death. 22-year-old nursing student Laken Riley. The Biden administration created the mess that led to the death of Laken Riley.
This is not Exhibit A of a broken immigration system. What would be? We're going to tell the American people until we run out of breath that the system in place is broken. It leads to results like in Georgia, and it needs to stop.
Patients are demanding a better experience when it comes to paying their medical bills. And as patients take on a larger...
So we don't like it, Kamala, we don't like it. You're the worst vice president in history. He's the worst president in history. Kamala, you're fired. Get out. Get out. You're fired. See, I consider all those guys back there with the big muscles, and it's not my thing, but I consider them really beautiful to me. They're beautiful people, and they are productive people. They make our country work and run. They built our country. They did.
Man, I'm about to end this live. Y'all tripping tonight, bro.
And then you had stupid politicians that let them down. And those companies got taken out of Pittsburgh and every place else.
Y'all tripping.
Like you take candy away from a baby. But now we have the exact opposite. If we win Pennsylvania, we will win the whole thing. It's very simple.
Get them lights up. Let's go. Get them lights up,
So
man.
speaking on that, we're going to go back in and get back to work. But thank you so much.
So ballpark. I mean, it could be close to 200,000.
Okay.
Thank you.
About an hour and a half.
All right, so there you see our colleague at Fox 29, Chris O'Connell. All right, you just heard from two city commissioners there in Philadelphia talking about the electoral integrity of the votes there in Philadelphia after some of these claims made by former President Trump on his social media platform, Truth Social, claiming that cheating was going on. Those two officials you just heard there are saying there is no credence to some of those allegations being made and leveled by former President Donald Trump there. Essentially, they are saying there is no there. So, want to make sure we got that in. We do want to get another quick commercial break. More expertise and analysis and results in 2 minutes. happy election night here. We're just getting started, but we have a lot to get to, including some of these results coming out of states like Indiana and Kentucky as well. Remember, we're tracking the governor's race in Indiana. I want to take that there. Republican Mike Braun, he's a senator right now, and he's trying his hand at the governor's mansion there. He is 55% over his challenger, Jennifer McCormick's 42% with around 9% of estimated votes counted. That's a pretty wide margin for Braun. It's looking good there for Braun's chances. We do want to focus, though, on the presidential contest in Indiana. Indiana reliably read for Republicans' last two cycles. Trump 58, Harris 41 there with around 9% of estimated votes counted. Remember, all throughout the night, we are relying on the Associated Press for their data, their metrics, their results as well. We bring those to you in real time. So remember, Indiana, 11 electoral votes. The Hoosier State in the Midwest there, Trump over Harris right now in Indiana. Now, let's go not too far. Kentucky, you see there, Trump over Harris, 65-33, almost 2-to-1 margin there for Trump in Kentucky. Kentucky has 8 electoral votes. Still early there, but Kentucky usually a ruby red state. In the meantime here, wanted to make sure we got some of those results in. Let's bring to the conversation. And someone who we've relied on all year, political analyst Brian Sobel, for his expertise. You guys, thanks for being with us here. Also, before we get to you, Brian, we're just getting these results in from states like Indiana, Kentucky. You could argue not as consequential as some of the battleground states. Polls will close there in Georgia and North Carolina at the top of the next hour. What are you looking at right now, Brian?
Well, I think we're looking, first of all, at Georgia as kind of the leader to see the results there coming out of Georgia. Obviously, Philadelphia with 19 electoral college votes is huge. We are going to see as the times across the country close the polls where we are on this. But we may get a leaning, Andrew, sooner than later. But these either highly red states or highly blue states, I don't take too much from that. As an example, in California later when the polls close, 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 54 electoral college votes will go into the Harris ledger because it's an entirely blue state.
Let's talk about the demographic makeup of voters, Brian. What type of people are the people that are going to be swinging this election, possibly?
Well, we're looking at that. We were looking at that. We want to see how frequently people vote, whether they vote reliably in presidential elections, and whether they lean Dem, lean Republican. Of course, this race has always been about trying to snag some independents, because clearly Harris has her followers and Trump has his followers, and so now you're really playing on the margins here, and it's a matter of people who just couldn't get behind Kamala Harris, who are Dems and decided to vote for Trump, or in the reverse, just could not vote for Donald Trump and just slid over into the Harris camp. But in the middle, 4%, 5% of those independents may very well decide this tonight.
Brian, I wanted to ask you, and this is somewhat of a long-winded question, or maybe the answer will be long-winded. Let's talk about the campaigns themselves. In the last week, or maybe the last weekend, in your view, what did the Trump campaign do right, and what did the Harris campaign do right, and vice versa? What do you think they did wrong?
Well, I think both campaigns really grounded out to the end. They were in a lot of places. They kept hitting these high swing state states to try to secure votes there. I think Donald Trump actually remained somewhat disciplined down the stretch, and Kamala Harris stuck to her message points. I think those are the positives. The negatives are that if you're not a Trump fan or you're not a Harris fan, nothing they said in the last few days will change your mind. Harris didn't really get into specifics through the entire 107 days of her campaign. Donald Trump kept with the same themes that he has talked about: the economy, immigration, these other things, right through to the end. So in the last 7 days, I was waiting for something to kind of move the needle here a little bit. I didn't really see that.
It is very close, Austin.
Yeah, so Brian, we saw, and I was asking Keith about this earlier, we saw Trump making appearances in New Mexico and in Virginia. We saw Vance in New Hampshire over the weekend. We haven't seen Kamala Harris making any appearances in any of these states that we don't consider battleground states. What do you think they're seeing? And what do you think they're relying on?
Okay, I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut everyone off here or interrupt. We're going to be doing this a lot. We do have some of these live events right now. We have some of these election officials, especially in Georgia. The Secretary of State there, Brad Raffensperger, speaking live. Let's just take it.
Was there. They brought in dogs and they were doing a sweep there, so we're not concerned about anything like that. The area was fully secure.
Do you have a sense of how long the delays were?
Typically, what you saw, anywhere from 20 minutes to 40 minutes in that range. So, we'll just be following that precinct by precinct.
How much later will they stay?
Well, that's what we're just saying. If you had, they were doing their work, say 20 minutes to 40 minutes, something like that. I think there's one that might be 50 minutes, but in that range, so less than an hour. But we'll get those to you as soon as we can.
You said you were there and that they hit the areas. Is that the case for all 12 of those locations?
Yeah, and typically, I know that in Atlanta, they also just got a whole bunch of bomb threats can come through. And Atlanta Police Department, they're keeping everything open. All the precincts are staying open, and they're just sending dogs around to sweep it to make sure that they're safe. But we know where it's coming from. FBI knows where it's coming from. But we want to make sure, interest of public safety, that everyone, make sure that it doesn't, slow down anyone from voting. And like I said, if you are in line at 7 p.m., you can continue to stay in line until you exercise your right to vote.
Do these seem to be coming from the same source as the earlier threats? And are they connected, to threats coming in and to other states?
We don't know that. And best as we can tell, these are probably coming from the same source.
Are there any indications of threats coming into places where the ballots are being counted?
No.
How will the extension of the hours impact on the counting of the votes coming in?
It's just a little bit slower because you have, I think that was 15 precincts plus the 2 in Cobb. It's a total of 15 precincts, so it just extends it out for there. But all those early votes have already been, all the early voting has already been done. There's no reason for that should not be tabulated and uploaded quickly. And then all the other votes for the absentee that have been accepted, so that should come quickly also. Yes.
Do you have any frustration seeing some of these threats come in after you guys have done so much over the last 4 years to try to change the election process and make it more secure?
I'm frustrated as an American that people would threaten other Americans, and so or threaten, just question the safety, and so that's what frustrates me. But we work through it. But our heart goes out for our voters, and that's what our concern is, and our poll workers.
You said early results will be in by 8 p.m., but that's a huge chunk of the total votes. So
Correct.
We're going to see early results in Georgia, 4 million votes by 8 p.m.
Oh, some of the precincts maybe extended a little bit now because they have this situation going on, but that's in 4 counties, 5 counties, so really then over 150 counties. Yes, by 8 p.m. by state law, they are required when they close on time to have it 1 hour after they close. So yes, you'll get a lot of results really quick. Thank you so much. Stay tuned. We'll be here. I know you will be too.
All right, so Brad Raffensperger wrapping up there. You see his deputy Gabe Sterling there in Atlanta with all of these questions about when we might know results there in Georgia. Polls close at the top of the next hour here. I'm Andrew Kraft back out live. I want to just put this tweet up here. This is a really good illustration of what election officials have had to contend with today. Anna Giratelli at the Washington Examiner tweeting out this: 7 new bomb threats received by election officials in DeKalb County outside Atlanta, Georgia, according to county officials. She says this is polls were supposed to close at 7 o'clock Eastern in about 9 minutes there. In the meantime, we still have Brian Sobel and Austin Westfall with me here in the newsroom. And Brian, election officials, they're trying to preserve the sanctity of the ballot today. They've had to contend with a lot, haven't they?
Yes, and these threats, if sources are correct, are coming not from a domestic source, but coming from perhaps Russia or other countries that are trying to upset the American election. You saw there that Georgian officials are on top of it, and other than taking normal precautions, it's not stopping anything.
Ryan, I got to ask you, just remind our audience, why did he have to field some questions there about election integrity? Why is that important specifically in his county, in his state?
Well, I think because already you're having the former president, Austin, talking about reports of shenanigans in Philadelphia. I mean, this is these officials trying to get out in front of any of the rhetoric coming from one or more of the campaigns about whether the elections have integrity. We've come a long way in 4 years from 2020. The election system has been bolstered considerably. And so this is kind of a 2020 playbook page. And people ought to be really, in my view, concentrating on other things tonight.
Right, yeah. And of course, got to remind you, we're not in a pandemic like we were in 2020. That's a major difference and mitigating factor as well. Brian Sobel, thanks so much. Also, we'll check in at the top of the hour. In the meantime, let's take our final commercial break of this hour. We got a lot more in store. Many states' polls are closing in just about 7 minutes' time, and some of those battleground states we're watching, including Georgia and North Carolina. We'll see you in 2 minutes.
And as you rightly mentioned,
country, from prisons and jails, from mental institutions and insane asylums, and they're coming in and they're taking jobs that are occupied right now by African Americans and Hispanics, and also unions. Unions are going to be affected very soon. And you see what's happening. You see what's happening with towns throughout the United States. You look at Springfield, Ohio. You look at Aurora in Colorado. They are taking over the towns. They're taking over buildings. They're going in violently. These are the people that Xi and Biden led into our country, and they're destroying our country. They're dangerous. They're at the highest level of criminality, and we have to get them out. We have to get them out fast. I created one of the greatest economies in the history of our country. I'll do it again and even better.
We are going to get to immigration and border security during this debate, but I would like to let Vice President Harris respond on the economy here.
well, I would love to. Let's talk about what Donald Trump left us. Donald Trump left us the worst unemployment since the Great Depression. Donald Trump left us the worst public health epidemic in a century. Donald Trump left us the worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War. And what we have done is clean up Donald Trump's mess. What we have done and what I intend to do is build on what we know are the aspirations and the hopes of the American people. But I'm going to tell you all in this debate tonight, you're going to hear from the same old tired playbook, a bunch of lies, grievances, and name calling. What you're going to hear tonight is a detailed and dangerous plan called Project 2025 that the former president intends on implementing if he were elected again. I believe very strongly that the American people want a president who understands the importance of bringing us together, knowing we have so much more in common than what separates us. And I pledge to you to be a president for all Americans.
President Trump will give you a minute to respond.
Number one, I have nothing to do, as you know, and as she knows better than anyone, I have nothing to do with Project 2025. That's out there. I haven't read it. I don't want to read it purposely. I'm not going to read it. This was a group of people that got together. They came up with some ideas. I guess some good, some bad. But it makes no difference. I have nothing to do. Everybody knows I'm an open book. Everybody knows what I'm going to do. Cut taxes very substantially and create a great economy like I did before. We had the greatest economy. We got hit with a pandemic. And the pandemic was not since 1917, where 100 million people died, has there been anything like it. We did a phenomenal job with the pandemic. We handed them over a country where the economy and where the stock market was higher than it was before the pandemic came in. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. We made ventilators for the entire world. We got gowns, we got masks, we did things that nobody thought possible. And people give me credit for rebuilding the military. They give me credit for a lot of things, but not enough credit for the great job we did with the pandemic. But the only jobs they got were bounce back jobs. These were jobs bounced back, and it bounced back and it went to their benefit. But I was the one that created them. They know it, and so does everybody else.
Vice President Harris, I'll let you respond.
So, Donald Trump has no plan for you. And when you look at his economic plan, it's all about tax breaks for the richest people. I am offering what I describe as an opportunity economy, and the best economists in our country, if not the world, have reviewed our relative plans for the future of America. What Goldman Sachs has said is that Donald Trump's plan would make the economy worse, mine would strengthen the economy. What the Wharton School has said is Donald Trump's plan would actually explode the deficit. 16 Nobel laureates have described his economic plan as something that would increase inflation and by the middle of next year would invite a recession. You just have to look at where we are and where we stand on the issues. And I'd invite you to know that Donald Trump actually has no plan for you because he is more interested in defending himself than he is in looking out for you.
It's just a soundbite that you ever had to say. Look, I went to the Wharton School of Finance, and many of those professors, the top professors, think my plan is a brilliant plan. It's a great plan. It's a plan that's going to bring up our worth, our value as a country. It's going to make people want to be able to go and work and create jobs and create a lot of good, solid money for our country. Just to finish off, she doesn't have a plan. She copied Biden's plan, and it's like 4 sentences, like run, spot, run. 4 sentences that are just, oh, we'll try and lower taxes. She doesn't have a plan. Take a look at her plan. She doesn't have a plan.
Mr. President, I do want to drill down on something you both brought up. The Vice President brought up your tariffs. You responded, and let's drill down on this, because your plan is what she calls is essentially a national sales tax. Your proposal calls for tariffs, as you pointed out here, on foreign imports across the board. You recently said that you might double your plan, imposing tariffs up to 20% on goods coming into this country. As you know, many economists say that with tariffs at that level, costs are then passed on to the consumer. Vice President Harris has argued it'll mean higher prices on gas, food, clothing, medication, arguing it costs the typical family nearly $4,000 a year. Do you believe Americans can afford higher prices because of tariffs?
They're not going to have higher prices. What's going to have, and who's going to have higher prices, is China and all of the countries that have been ripping us off for years. I was the only president ever. China was paying us hundreds of billions of dollars, and so were other countries. And, you know, if she doesn't like them, they should have gone out and they should have immediately cut the tariffs. But those tariffs are there 3.5 years now under their administration. We are going to take in billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars. I had no inflation, virtually no inflation. They had the highest inflation perhaps in the history of our country, because I've never seen a worse period of time. People can't go out and buy cereal or bacon or eggs or anything else. The people of our country are absolutely dying with what they've done. They've destroyed the economy. And all you have to do is look at a poll. The polls say 80 and 85 and even 90% that the Trump economy was great, that their economy was terrible.
Vice President Harris, I do want to ask for your response. And you heard what the president said there, because the Biden administration did keep a number of the Trump tariffs in place. So how do you respond?
Well, let's be clear that the Trump administration resulted in a trade deficit, one of the highest we've ever seen in the history of America. He invited trade wars. You want to talk about his deal with China? What he ended up doing is, under Donald Trump's presidency, he ended up selling American chips to China to help them improve and modernize their military, basically sold us out, when a policy about China should be in making sure the United States of America wins the competition for the 21st century, which means focusing on the details of what that requires, focusing on relationships with our allies, focusing on investing in American-based technology so that we win the race on AI, on quantum computing, focusing on what we need to do to support America's workforce so that we don't end up having on the short end of the stick in terms of workers' rights. But what Donald Trump did, let's talk about this, with COVID, is he actually thanked President Xi for what he did during COVID. Look at his tweet. Focusing on what we need to do to support America's workforce so that we don't end up having on the short end of the stick in terms of workers' rights. But what Donald Trump did, let's talk about this, with COVID, is he actually thanked President Xi for what he did during COVID. Look at his tweet. Thank you, President Xi, exclamation point, when we know that Xi was responsible for lacking and not giving us transparency about the origins of COVID.
President Trump, I'll let you respond.
First of all, they bought their chips from Taiwan. We hardly make chips anymore because of philosophies like they have and policies like they have. I don't say her because she has no policy. Everything that she believed 3 years ago and 4 years ago is out the window. She's going to my philosophy now. In fact, I was going to send her a MAGA hat. She's gone to my philosophy. But if she ever got elected, she'd change it. And it will be the end of our country. She's a Marxist. Everybody knows she's a Marxist. Her father's a Marxist professor in economics, and he taught her well. But when you look at what she's done to our country, and when you look at these millions and millions of people that are pouring into our country monthly, where it's, I believe, 21 million people, not the 15 that people say, and I think it's a lot higher than the 21. That's bigger than New York State pouring in. And just look at what they're doing to our country. They're criminals. Many of these people coming in are criminals. And that's bad for our economy, too. You know, you mentioned before, we'll talk about immigration later. Well, bad immigration is the worst thing that can happen to our economy. They have, and she has, destroyed our country with policy that's insane. Almost policy that you say they have to hate our country.
President Trump, thank you. Lindsay?
I want to turn to the issue of abortion. President Trump, you've often touted that you were able to kill Roe v. Wade last year. You said that you were proud to be the most pro-life president in American history. Then last month, you said that your administration would be